They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. They don't want that. You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later, because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Hello and welcome to our channel. I'm here to help empower African and Black diaspora business owners to bring their expertise to the continent, starting in Kenya. Our goal? To guide you in enhancing critical sectors like legal, agriculture, and healthcare, using the power of your knowledge and collective skill sets. This platform is all about providing you with the unfiltered truth. For those who understand the importance of protecting their business and family, you're in the right place. Given the restrictions some platforms have on content like ours, don't forget to check the links in our bio for the full, uncut versions of our videos. With my experience as an entrepreneur, former tech founder, and professional athlete, I'm here to connect driven individuals, ready to use their businesses as a beacon of hope in these challenging days. Enjoy the video and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay rooted, stay ready.
And you will also come to see how loveless they are, how wicked they are. The Lord revealed, I think just a few days ago, in another prophecy prayer call. And he said, you know, Celestial, what happens is that people in America truly think that the leaders that represent them from whichever side actually get together. They think that they get together on their partisan sides and they're working for the American people. But the Lord said that what people don't know is that when the cameras go off, both sides come together and they are actually serving the overlord, Satan. They have absolutely no interest in the general population's well-being.
Hi, my name is Jim Rickards. I'm a former advisor to the White House, Congress, the CIA, the Pentagon, and the Department of Defense. I'm also an attorney, investment banker, and author of 7 books on global finance and economic policy. Places like Fox, CNBC, or Bloomberg call me when they want to know what's about to shake up the global economy. I hold master's degrees in international economics and taxation. I've been in the private West Wing of the White House. I helped end the Iranian hostage crisis for the Reagan administration. The Nixon administration brought me in to help craft the petrodollar accord with Saudi Arabia. I've attended strategic sessions in the vaults, the secure meeting rooms inside the Pentagon. Here's a photo of me there. This is all I'm allowed to show you of the inside. I even hosted the first ever financial war games for the Pentagon. I've been inside the CIA director's secure conference room on the 7th floor of Langley headquarters. When it comes to the slimy underbelly of our government, I know all the players and I know the game. That's why, despite 99% of polls saying the exact opposite, I stood outside Trump Tower a few days before the 2016 elections and predicted Donald Trump would be our next president. I was right then. And when you review the evidence I have for you today, you'll see I'm right again. But make no mistake, I'm no politician and I don't work for the media. I don't need anyone's money. So I can't be bought and sold like all the talking heads out there. That means I am free to expose what others won't. And if it means I'm taking some personal risk, so be it. Because just like you, I'm a proud American patriot. And the unsettling predictions you'll see here today are based on my independent research and my personal contacts in the intelligence community. The fix is in. On November 16, 2023, bumbling Joe Biden tipped his hand, accidentally revealing the Democrats' plan to rig the upcoming presidential election. You're about to be one of the few people who has seen the plot to swap out Biden with a shadow candidate hand-selected to beat Trump. You'll see how this dangerous scheme will trigger a social and financial meltdown from shore to shore. Then, as the election aftermath plays out, you'll see how to beat them at their own game, by not just protecting your hard-won retirement savings in the turmoil to come, but using the little-known chaos rally strategy to substantially help grow your own personal wealth, even while other Americans suffer from the Dems' treachery. But even more than that, I promised I'd show you how to use the chaos rally theory to help grow your own wealth, potentially upgrading your standard of living forever. You see, when I was called to the CIA, the Pentagon, Congress, the Department of Defense, and the White House, it was because I'm an expert on one thing above all others: money. I spent 40 years working at the highest levels of Wall Street and international finance. I held senior positions at Citibank, Caxton Associates, and the hedge fund Long-Term Capital Management. I have a master's degree in international economics and another in taxation. I've authored 7 books on global economics. I've been inside the U.S. Treasury and spoke privately with Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner. I've been invited to the Federal Reserve and had conversations with Ben Bernanke. Here's a snapshot of our discussion. My experience and connections give me a unique insight into the coming meltdown, and I know how to help protect your money and your retirement savings. Even more than that, I can help show you how to profit despite the turmoil to come. When violence sweeps across America, most people will hunker down and may even pull their investments out of the market, fearing a collapse. They don't know about the coming chaos rally. So you may be wondering, what is a chaos rally? It's a little-known economic phenomenon that could mean substantial gains for you. You see, when there is mass violence in America, you'd expect the stock market to drop. After all, investors hate uncertainty and turmoil, right? But something different happens. For a brief window during and after the violence, the market usually rallies. And if you know exactly what to do, you can use the crisis for potentially big gains, while most investors panic like Chicken Littles. That's the chaos rally strategy. Let me show you what I mean. 1968 is called the year that shattered America. 100,000 Americans died from the Hong Kong flu. The death of Martin Luther King Jr. caused race riots, and violence erupted again at the Democratic Convention, where Hubert Humphrey was crowned the candidate without having to run in the primaries. You'd naturally expect the market to react negatively to this chaos, but for a brief window, stocks rocketed up instead. Then in 1992, America dealt with the mass unrest following the Rodney King trial. What happened during the riots? The stock market rallied. shooting to all-time highs. Then a decade ago, the Ferguson riots inspired the BLM movement. People took to the streets. Violence, looting, and protests paralyzed the nation. But how did the stock market react to all that unrest? It rallied, spiking higher and higher. That's how a chaos rally works. But here's the thing. It doesn't last long. In 1968, the chaos rally window lasted about 3 months. In 1992, it was only a few weeks. In 2014, after the BLM riots, it held on for 4 months. But once the window closes, stocks sink, and any new gains could be lost. So in order to capitalize on the chaos rally window to turn the tables on the Dems crisis, you need to know exactly what to do. But first, let me show you exactly how I believe this will play out. There's a group of Democrat power brokers who operate behind the scenes. I'm talking about people like Donna Brazile, Mark Elias, Dick Durbin, Nancy Pelosi, and a few others. You could call them the Democrat swamp. Of course, the Dem power brokers are well versed in dirty election politics. After all, they've done it before. In 2016, Bernie Sanders was riding high. He was winning primaries. He could well have been the Democratic candidate and could even have won the election. But the Dem swamp had their preferred candidate, crooked Hillary Clinton. They pushed Bernie out into the cold and crowned Hillary as their candidate, ignoring their own voters. They were busted red-handed after WikiLeaks released 20,000 emails showing they'd conspired against Bernie in favor of crooked Hillary. Their plot didn't work out too well for them in 2016, but that won't stop them from trying again. Funny, they call themselves the Democrats when there's nothing democratic about a party that ignores its own voters and rigs the nomination process. I believe their latest plan, Operation Stalking Horse, is already in place. Here's how I see it working. Biden will stay in the race through the primaries. He's already sewn up the Democratic nomination. But that won't matter. To see Operation Stalking Horse through, he'll need to collect as many delegates as possible. That way, his co-conspirators will have maximum leverage at the Democratic convention in Chicago. If Biden drops out too early, there will be a mad scramble for delegates in the remaining primaries. The Democrat swamp doesn't want that. They want to rig the process on their terms. The last presidential primary is June 4th. At that point, Biden will have almost all the delegates. I predict he'll wait a week or two. Then on June 13th, he'll call a news conference. To the surprise of everyone, except you and me, Biden will announce he's dropping out of the race. He might give a medical excuse, which will be easy for people to believe. After all, he's failing physically and mentally in front of our eyes. Or he can say he's doing it for the good of the country. Whatever bogus excuse Biden goes with, he'll drop out of the race in June. Now, he won't resign the presidency at that point. Not yet. I'll explain more in a moment. Biden will announce he's going to finish out his term, but he will no longer seek re-election. Why June 13th? Because the Democratic National Convention is August 19th. The Democrats' presidential nominee will be officially announced there. So let's get started. Right now, while we speak, the Democrats are rigging the 2024 presidential election, attempting to guarantee a victory for their anti-American policies. And I'm going to show you exactly how they're doing it. Not only that, you'll see how to turn the tables on the Dems by using the little-known chaos rally wealth-building strategy to profit from the carnage they'll bring. I know this is a lot to take in, so let me show you what I now see coming. Joe Biden is a decoy. He will not face Trump in the 2024 election. As part of a carefully orchestrated scheme I call Operation Stalking Horse, on June 13th, Joe Biden will hold a surprise press conference. Once he's on the air, Biden will announce he's withdrawing from the 2024 presidential election. 2 months later, at the Democratic National Committee convention in Chicago, a shadow candidate, hand-selected by the Democrats to defeat Trump, will be crowned. They already have him picked out. You see, the Dems know one thing for sure. In a head-to-head matchup with Trump, Biden will get crushed. Calamity Joe is incredibly unpopular, even with his own base, who see his mental faculties are declining daily. He is confused and bumbling, needing assistance to even find his way off a campaign stage. Biden was never fit to be president, but now, in this state, he's a danger to our country and the entire world. Even Democrats know it. Despite Biden being an incumbent running for re-election, about half of Democrats want a different candidate. That's unheard of in modern politics. But here's my concern. Once you get Biden out of the way, a different Democratic candidate can defeat Trump. That's something Trump supporters, and I'm one of us, don't want to hear. But it's true. The left's undemocratic attacks on Trump are a disgrace. The indictments, the campaign obstruction, they've done everything they can to stop Trump winning again. Unfortunately, it's starting to work. An NBC News poll found Trump would beat Biden in a head-to-head matchup. No surprise there. At this point, no one thinks that senile Biden should hold the nuclear codes. Points. This new Dem would get 46% of the vote compared to only 40% for Trump. That's a huge margin in a presidential election, and more than enough for a Dem victory. Folks, this could really happen. I believe when Biden drops out on June 13th, when the new shadow candidate, who won't have entered or won a single primary, is crowned at the Democratic Convention in Chicago on August 19th, and when Trump faces this imposter in a rigged election, it will create a national crisis like we haven't seen in more than 50 years. Our country could endure an economic meltdown and rampant unrest, chaos, and violence. There's more. I think bumbling Biden accidentally revealed his own replacement. You'll see who it is in a moment. The June 13th withdrawal would give the Credentials Committee, convention organizers, and political fixers enough time to make it a peaceful coronation of the selected replacement. When he makes his announcement on June 13th, Biden will release all the delegates he won in the primaries. He's allowed to do that under law. At the same time, he'll endorse his replacement shadow candidate, who I'll reveal in a moment. The Democrat elite superdelegates will already be on board with the plan. It will be a clean handoff. The Dems already have the template because they've done it before. In 1968, Lyndon B. Johnson was an unpopular Democratic president. Then on Sunday, March 31st, 1968, Americans' primetime programming was interrupted with a message from the president. In a shock to everyone, President Johnson announced he was dropping out of the race. Instead, at the Democratic Convention, replacement candidate Hubert Humphrey was handed the Democratic nomination despite having not competed in or won a single primary. This is exactly what I'm talking about happening again, and I'm not alone in my prediction. Former Obama's senior advisor, David Axelrod, has publicly encouraged Biden to withdraw from the race. Political activist billionaire Bill Ackman also publicly pushed Biden to drop out. Independent presidential candidate Cornel West recently announced, "I'm not even sure whether I'll be running against Biden. I think he's going to have an LBJ moment and pull back." In January, JP Morgan asset management strategist Michael Zambales predicted Biden would withdraw. Sometime between Super Tuesday and the November elections, Biden will then be replaced by a candidate named by the Democratic National Committee. Friend, I believe right now, as you're reading this, the Operation Stalking Horse plot is picking up steam. The Democrat swamp already has their Biden replacement. I've heard Michelle Obama's name thrown about, and believe it or not, even the criminal Hunter Biden. But neither of them are likely. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer or Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois are possible suspects in my mind. But I think the Democrat swamp already has its candidate. After all, he's been hiding in plain sight, running a shadow presidential campaign for the past 12 months. That's why I reached out to a colleague and friend, Jason Hansen. Jason is a former CIA operative. He won the CIA Exceptional Performance Award not once, but twice. That's about all I'm allowed to say about his past experience, if you catch my meaning. These days, Jason teaches no-holds-barred defense techniques to celebrities, top business executives, and other high-profile targets. He's a mild-mannered, unassuming guy. You'd like him. But when the stuff hits the fan, Jason is positively lethal. If you're ever in a crisis, you want someone like him on your side. Jason also included the 6 steps to survive a societal-level event that lasts weeks or months. He even shows you a secret for sourcing top-quality survival food for much less than you're paying now. One of my personal favorite chapters is when Jason reveals covert spy secrets for moving undetected at night. With these secrets, you will confidently walk inner city streets or any other unfamiliar environment. Finally, Jason shares the most important information of all, how to defend your family and property against multiple intruders. This section gets intense, but there's nothing pretty about facing a group of thugs who want to do your family harm. Once someone has entered your home, they've abandoned any expectation of mercy. And with the firefighting techniques Jason shows you here, they'll regret ever crossing your property line immediately. These are just a few of the spy-level secrets you'll get in how to make your home your personal fortress.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dylan Rieger, the Stock, the Teaser. And today we're going to be looking at Strategic Intelligence by Jim Rickards. This is an investing newsletter that promises to deliver you high return investment picks. In this review, we're going to be covering all aspects of this newsletter, including who Jim is, any red flags that I could find, and we're also going to be looking at the previous stock performance of some of Jim's stock picks. So make sure to watch this video all the way through. All your questions about this newsletter will be answered. So what this means for you is that Agora runs all their publishers the exact same way. So what they do is they sell a bait product. This is a very cheap newsletter that they use to get you into their sales funnel. That's what Strategic Intelligence is. You can find Strategic Intelligence for as low as $49 per year. But Agora's not making hundreds of millions of dollars a year selling $49 newsletters. So what they do is they get you into the sales funnel, and then they heavily promote these expensive newsletters to you. And these ones will cost thousands and thousands of dollars a year. They're going to market these newsletters to you in the most unethical ways possible. They'll try to manipulate you, confuse you, scare you. They'll do every trick in the book to get you to spend thousands of dollars. They're experts at doing it, and that's how they make their real money. The problem is this company is extremely predatory, and they get caught crossing the ethical line all the time. For example, just last year, they had to pay $2 million for defrauding senior citizens with phony diabetes cures and money-making schemes. It's like the worst thing you could possibly do. The problem is that Agora makes hundreds of millions of dollars from marketing and selling the products that they do. So $2 million is basically nothing to them. They'll happily pay that as long as they get to continue to do what they've been doing. As truth in advertising has proven, these fines have done nothing to deter Agora, and they continue to use deceptive and dark patterns to ensnare senior citizens. For example, we'll give you a couple examples of some of the ads they run. They target people with cancer, target people with cholesterol. So it's very risky stuff they're doing. So it's not just like, they're not just taking money, which is like the most evil thing you can do is steal money from old people.
If you're in your 50s or older, you might be wondering, what the heck is happening to my country? Are we living in a banana republic? And you'd be right for asking that question. But sadly, I'm here to tell you, you haven't seen anything yet. Because I'm expecting a massive twist in the presidential election as early as August 19th. One that will change the course of the 2024 presidential election and our country, and bring socialism into the mainstream in America. It has nothing to do with voting machines or accusations of funny business at the ballot box you might have read about. Instead, for reasons I'll soon show you, I believe August 19th, 2024 will mark the date America could transform forever. It will impact millions of Americans and you. But there's a place you can run to with your family, your money, your business that I'll show you in just a second. A refuge for Americans who love liberty, prosperity, hard work, opportunity, and privacy. Billionaire Steve Forbes said, "I have the most enviable long-term track record of investment recommendations." Even though we're friends, Steve won't go on the record with a statement like that unless it was true. For decades, I've been privately advising the financial elite on how to handle their investments. In that time, I've helped them avoid some of the worst financial bloodbaths in American history. For instance, I sounded the alarm bell before the Black Monday crash in 1987. I warned my clients about the dot-com crash in 2000. Forbes magazine noted that, unlike Wall Street, I was warning investors that they shouldn't touch Enron with a 10-foot pole. More specifically, I recommended selling when the stock hit $61, locking in a nice profit. I was even able to call out the 2008 financial crisis before the market tanked. And I was even honored to rub elbows with President Ronald Reagan. My work and success has put me in contact with politicians, mega donors, and some of the most politically connected people on the planet. But you might be wondering, if I'm such a big deal and so successful, why am I talking to you today? Why not just run a billion-dollar private investment firm and not weigh in on politics? Why not fly around in a private jet, retire in Palm Beach, and hang out at Mar-a-Lago and say hi to former President Trump when he stops by? And the answer is, I do. Yes, I've had 4 jets, and I do spend time at Mar-a-Lago. But the truth is, I really don't care about the billions of dollars around me. Celebrities don't impress me. I'm saying none of this to brag. I actually don't like talking about myself like this, but there's a reason for it. You need to know that when it comes to the financial markets, growing your wealth, managing your savings, and protecting what's yours, it's worth a few minutes of your time to listen to me. As grateful as I am to be wealthy today, and as easy as it would be to simply retire, I think of my father, who sacrificed to provide for his family. He lived in an America that was more financially honest. The average Joe could work hard, get ahead, and enjoy a comfortable retirement. That America is dying. You can see that America is barreling towards a major turning point in the 2024 presidential election. Trust in our political institutions are at an all-time low. High inflation is ravaging retiree savings. The globe is teetering on the brink of world war. The national debt is over $33 trillion, and we're adding $1 trillion on top every few months now. High interest rates are making it harder to get credit and pay for housing. Hundreds of thousands of workers are striking across the country, and unemployment is starting to rise for the first time in years. My name is Louis Navalier. You might have seen me on Fox Business, CNBC, Bloomberg, and the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, my writing in the Epoch Times, or as a speaker at the #1 freedom conference in the world, Freedom Fest, and many other conferences where I speak to thousands of liberty-loving Americans about how to be freer and more financially prosperous. I get calls anytime financial markets are worried about energy prices, inflation, war, elections, you name it. Over 40 years ago, I was granted access to one of Wells Fargo's mainframe computers to help build one of the first index funds. When I was just still a teenager, shortly after that I became a banking analyst. But as you'll see in just a moment, you shouldn't hold that against me. That experience gave me a view of the corrupt underbelly of the government and the banking industry. It turned my stomach so much that I walked out the door and started my own private investment firm. Family and friends gave me the seed money, and they're very happy they did. First, I created a computer program that helped me forecast some of the most iconic moves in the stock market ever, identifying Dell Computer, Microsoft, and Apple as stocks to buy before those companies became household names. These algorithms have gone head-to-head with the track records of Peter Lynch and multi-billionaire Warren Buffett and won. I got to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. California Governor Gavin Newsom. Even thehill.com is now admitting Biden will be the nominee, but Newsom is the one actually running for president. And according to betfair.com, the odds of who wins the Democratic nomination are Biden with the best chance, followed up by Newsom in second place. And as of this recording, the candidate polling to become the next president behind Trump and Biden is Newsom. Which means if Biden's out, Newsom's in. The groundwork is being laid for anyone to see. Business Insider said Gavin Newsom got grilled on 60 Minutes about whether he intends to run for president. This time his answer wasn't no. Right now he isn't directly challenging Biden, but he's waiting in the wings for Biden to back out and acting like he's already in the race. Already Newsom has traveled to Israel right after the Hamas attack. He traveled to China to meet President Xi. He's traveled across the southern United States to court voters and community groups for local candidates in several Republican states, from Alabama to Missouri to Arkansas. Why would the governor of liberal California trek all the way from his progressive utopia to go to Arkansas? He's even scheduled his own televised debate with presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis. Ask yourself, why would a governor be doing all of this unless he was trying to get the big job? Which is why I believe August 19th could be such a critical date in this development. See, right now, with Biden in the race, the Democratic field is essentially cleared, and Biden will sail through the nomination process. The National Democratic Convention is set for August 19th, 2024 in Chicago. That's the date Biden will need to bow out by. I believe that when he does, thanks to the nomination rules of the Democratic Party, the superdelegates, political operatives within the party that help decide the party's nominee, will have an easy time steering the nomination of Newsom, the obvious replacement. Which is why Newsom's shadow campaign will stay in the shadows for now. Until, in a surprise, I believe he'll be drafted by the superdelegates to take over the party from Biden. You need to start preparing for what will come next, now. Because while this all plays out, radical socialism is destroying the country. From high gas, food, and housing prices, to rising crime, to insane spending and borrowing, to sleepwalking into World War III. Your money and freedom are already under attack. And by the time Newsom is swapped in by the Democrats, I believe the final stage of America's transformation will begin. The coming Californication of America. California, the state Newsom governs right now, is essentially like a country of its own. Now, my family's California roots go back generations. I love the place. I love the people. But if you want a glimpse into America's future, all you need to do is look at how fast the Golden State was destroyed by Newsom and the left. That's why I got the hell out of there, like tens of thousands of other Californians. The time to get prepared is right now. Because the question you should be asking yourself right now is, with everyone leaving California to get away from Newsom and his policies, where will Americans run to if he gets into the White House and America becomes California? The good news is there is a safe harbor, and a group of Americans just as concerned about their futures in this country as you are. I'm going to introduce them to you now. But first, there are some critical steps you need to take right now, because I believe over the next 12 months, you're going to see even worse attacks on your freedom, your wallet, and your privacy than the war big government is already waging on you. The first step protects your money and sets you up for a massive opportunities as we get closer to Biden bowing out of the election. Step number 1, dump these 3 flagged election stocks. Get into these 3 election stocks now. The truth is, as worrisome as the policy of Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden are, as chaotic as I believe the 2024 election will be, there's no need to outright panic if you know how to position your portfolio. That's why I've just put together a free report called the 2024 Election Blueprint. Inside, I'm going to show you 3 election stocks that most investors likely have buried in their portfolios right now that are ticking time bombs as we get closer to the election. You're going to want to check your portfolio, 401k or IRA for these tickers. And if you own any of them, sell immediately. Then I'm going to give you the names of 3 companies that I believe will soar over the next 18 months as the 2024 election drama unfolds. After you positioned your portfolio, you're going to want to take one of the most profitable and patriotic steps you can take with your money. Because what you're about to see will not only keep Donald Trump from re-election, but put him down in the history books as having been the last Republican president. And Biden, I don't think he'll win the election either. Look, I'm no medical doctor, but do I need to be one in order to see Joe Biden isn't firing on all cylinders? Whether it's a nonsense statement, shaking hands with invisible people, blank stares, or falling down stairs, Democrats are scared. Which is why we believe the people running the Democratic Party have given tacit approval for a shadow presidential campaign to be launched in the background, paving the way for a much different candidate. As you'll see, the winner of the 2024 election could trigger an economic and financial crisis, the likes of which we've never seen before. If you believe Joe Biden's big spending has America headed for financial ruin, you've seen nothing yet. Because I believe the next president could quickly tip inflation back up to 5%, 9%, and even into double digits. We could see a recession upending our economy. Stimulus checks could become the norm as universal basic income is rolled out. Trillions could be added to the national debt as more student loan debt is canceled nationwide. Taxes could spike to rates not seen in our lifetimes. The stock market could crash by 20% or more. Big tech will censor millions of dissenting Americans after the election is called.
Why did you invest your money in foolish places? There was another prophecy where the Lord said to me, my child, observe the women of today. They take their money and invest it in their breasts and their backside, which gives a new meaning to the phrase sitting on your cash. And God basically said that to people who continue spending their money on frivolities, who continue running hither and thither, listening to whatever is floating in the wind, you will find that America will be prevented from kicking the financial can down the road anymore. God said that this country is federally broke, that there is no money on the books, that they're trying to get inventive and creative with the numbers, but he is not going to allow that anymore. He said he will expose the U.S. books, and America, you will pay the price for the poor stewardship of the people who captain this ship. I might be able to do 2 prophecies, but if I can't, I'm definitely going to do this one. This prophecy came directly in the middle of the year, so I would say it's about 3 months old. It's about roughly 3 months old, July 14, 2022. And the title of this prophecy is Underwater. And this prophecy is concerning financial markets. God has been speaking in the live prophecy calls quite a bit about a coming financial crash. So I started covering this thing, I would think about June, where God says that there's going to be a wage crisis and there's going to be an unemployment crisis. And he also revealed that America is going to go back to Great Depression levels. So as you can see, this is directly counter to whatever Kool-Aid people have many people sipping out there, telling them that this is the time to buy whatever it is that they're telling you to buy. Just know that there is a 15 or 16 minute live prophecy call where God was saying, why did you play with your money? Did you not hear that dire straits were coming? Why did you play with your money in investments? Why did you invest your money in foolish places? There was another prophecy where the Lord said to me, my child, observe the women of today. They take their money and invest it in their breasts and their backside, which gives a new meaning to the phrase sitting on your cash. And God basically said that to people who continue spending their money on frivolities, who continue running hither and thither, listening to whatever is floating in the wind, you will find that America will be prevented from kicking the financial can down the road anymore. God said that this country is federally broke, that there is no money on the books, that they're trying to get inventive and creative with the numbers, but he is not going to allow that anymore. He said he will expose the U.S. books, and America, you will pay the price for the poor stewardship of the people who captain this ship. And you will also come to see how loveless they are, how wicked they are. The Lord revealed, I think just a few days ago, in another prophecy prayer call, and he said, Celestial, what happens is that people in America truly think that the leaders that represent them from whichever side actually get together. They think that they get together on their partisan sides and they're working for the American people. But the Lord said that what people don't know is that when the cameras go off, both sides come together and they are actually serving the overlord, Satan. They have absolutely no interest in the general population's well-being. They have no interest in the population, the global population's well-being. He said that they're working for a totally different agenda. They're working to bring about a new kingdom. You see, these people read the Bible a lot more than Christians. These people, they have studied Daniel chapter 7, and they are fully vested in bringing about what Daniel called the fourth beast. They are fully vested in bringing about that final kingdom, which is the kingdom of the iron mixed with clay that Nebuchadnezzar dreamt and saw. They want to bring about that transhumanist blended kingdom where almost nothing will be run by human beings. Almost everything is going to be AI. A machine will be making major life decisions for people. I have that live prophecy prayer call. I just need to edit it, and then I will upload it when I have time. And people in America are still basically stuck in 1913 and thinking that the good old values that founded the nation is what is happening. Stuck on politics, completely drunk on the Kool-Aid, misled, lied to, and also sadly proud. Because here's the thing. It's one thing to be deceived and then to finally allow the pain of your deception to work through you so that you can be healed of it. But how difficult it is to be deceived and then be so proud that you're unable to admit you were deceived, because if you accept that you were fooled, then you also have to accept that you're someone who can be fooled. And for the majority, pride simply will not allow that. Underwater, July 14, 2022. So I woke up early that morning after having some economically difficult dreams. Please understand that I'm going to be mostly reading here, mostly because a lot of this subject matter is outside of my purview. A lot of this is money stuff, and I have no problem with saying this. I'm able to accurately record what God says to me because he uses words. So I'm able to accurately record what the Lord says to me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I will always understand some of these technicalities and be able to bring it to you. So for this prophecy, some people will automatically understand because they're into this stuff, they're investing in all that. And then some people may need to go and do a little extra work and read up. And so whichever side of the coin you're on, this is the revelation in the Word of God. So I was having a tough dream, and that dream comes at the bottom of this prophecy at the very end. I'll get to it. But what happened in that dream made me so upset that I woke up irritated. These dreams can be so real that I will wake up in the full flush of the emotions, stress, worry, awe, fear, and in this case, severe irritation because of what happened in the dream. But when I woke up, God started talking to me immediately. And what he said is that the American economy is going to totally flatline. It is going to crash. And I've heard that many times before, but this time he was focused on the stock market. And what the Lord said is that the stock market is a rigged game and that ordinary people don't really stand a chance in that game because this is a carefully curated platform where personal bets and insider culture rule. So this is not the open free market economy that's constantly being sold, the Milton Friedman myth and all that. The stock market, as well as the free market, actually are heavily manipulated by the government in this country. The government leans more towards this Soviet central planning module more than they do the free market economy. It's just a myth that things are following logical, that people are making logical choices and whatever like that. Most of the time, the government is heavily involved either in front of us all or behind the scenes. And this is what God was saying. When it comes to the stock market, it's all about making personal bets. It's all about insider culture. And like I said, I didn't understand some of what I was seeing, but I recorded it accurately and you will get the full prophetic record as God said it. And so I came out of this dream. I was upset. And the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was a white bathroom. So I saw a white bathroom without any personal effects. There's no cream on the countertops. There's no bath rug. There's nothing to personalize this bathroom. It is a nice looking bathroom, all white. And at the time I saw it, it was half flooded. So just imagine if the door was flat on the floor so that no water would seep under the door. And that means whatever water pours into this bathroom would be pouring into it exactly like a pool. When I saw this bathroom, as soon as I woke up, I was looking at this bathroom. It was halfway flooded. And when I say halfway, I mean the water had crept up over the toilet. It had crept up over the tub. It had crept up even over the raised sink. It was halfway up the wall. And this bathroom was in the process of getting completely drowned. And then God said, tell them that the NASDAQ, the FTSE, the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow Jones, and any other form of currency and investment platform that they're trusting in is going to be flooded on purpose. It's going down, underwater, all of it. It's already impossible to make a fortune on these indices because they are rigged to favor the super rich and the super wealthy. Whatever anyone thinks he's making on the stock exchange, this was God speaking, so please stick with me. Whatever anyone thinks that he's making on the stock exchange, it is pennies compared to where the real trading is happening, where the real money is moving. Money is exchanged in a private part of the stock exchange where ordinary people will never find it. So there's a part of the stock exchange where the majority of the real trades, real money is moving, real trades, real bets are being placed, and ordinary people have no access to it. God said you will never find it. The system is rigged and the rich know the score. Ordinary people can never find where that money is being traded because it happens in plain sight, and yet it's not visible at all. God said people put their money there, and the money is accepted into something called the general pool. So everybody knows at the stock exchange, as long as you have a company or whatever, and it's big enough and you can, I guess, offer shares and go public, he says that this general pool is there to legitimize the stock exchange, to build up capital in the stock exchange, and to sustain the circulation of money in the financial sector and even in the overall economy. So ordinary people, you can buy and sell on the stock exchange. And God said that you're kind of putting your money into something like a board game, and your money becomes chips. But your chips are what is keeping this grand swindle going. He says that once your money gets into the stock exchange, it's not your money anymore. He said, people think that because they have these apps in their hands that allow them to see and track and handle their investments, they feel that they still have control over their money. They feel that their money is still their money, but God says that's an illusion. Your money becomes like poker chips, and those poker chips becomes the players' money. He says it also becomes the government's money because the government is a massive trader in the stock exchange. And God says that the U.S. government is trading on the stock exchange under various names, various corporations, and various aliases that have nothing to do with U.S. Gov. So I guess the government, I've never actually checked, but I guess maybe the government would be listed on the stock exchange. I guess in case of government bonds or something like that, they would be listed as U.S. Gov. And then you can say, you know what, I'm going to prove my patriot colors. I'm going to buy government bonds or whatever it is that people do. And then you're going to shop from U.S. Gov. But God says, won't you be surprised to find out that U.S. Gov has a ton of other aliases and a ton of other names because the government has reconstituted itself as a number of privately traded companies and other things like that that you won't know this is the government. And those players are also spreading the government's wealth in the stock exchange under other names. And he says the government is playing the hands and playing the rounds just like all the players. Rich people, says the Lord, have an entirely different set of rules and views. Hear their terms and names for themselves. This is coming directly from the Lord. I've just woken up. I've seen a flooded bathroom, and immediately this is God going at this deep level, and I'm simply writing it down. He says rich people are part of a completely different world, and hear how they refer to themselves. They call themselves the super rich, uber rich, the untouchables, the clan. The Lord says the list is long. Whether super rich, uber rich, or the clan, he says they're accepting public money into a private pool. And when your money gets in there, God says that they use it to play a closed and a private game. They're just like players in these gentlemen clubs where you have to be a member of the club to play, except that this is different because the players in the gentleman club are being funded by the public. God says that the public is the endless benefactor of these things because people just keep putting their money on the table like an automated ATM request. And the clan takes the money. They draw it into that private part of the stock exchange where only they go. And then they play a game with it. He says they are doing private betting almost like a game. And the endless supply of chips for the betting table comes from the unsuspecting public. And the Lord is saying all this, and I'm just watching this water climb and climb and climb in this empty white bathroom. Tell them the stock exchange and the financial trades will crash and take everyone who is still in it with it. The bathroom will go underwater and everyone still in it will drown. Let them know the time is soon, but not yet. So this is the first part of the prophecy, waking up from a dream that I will describe, seeing a flooded bathroom and hearing God talk about the NASDAQ, the FTSE, the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow Jones, and everything else where people invest and move currency and other things around here in America. God says it's going to be flooded on purpose. It's going down. It's going underwater. And if you're still in it when that time comes, well, you will just go underwater with it. And I spoke in that recent prayer call. I'm going to tag it underneath. I think it says everything. It's called financial crash, nothing but scattering. And one of the visions I saw as that live prophecy was coming out was that I saw a man who was getting more and more depressed, because I was seeing this man as across a spiritual divide. But when I spoke to the man, he could hear me, and I was telling him, why did you put your money in all these toys, in these online games? Why did you put your money in this investing thing and up and down and all these things that people are running here and there? It's almost like there's spiritual deafness in the earth. And I think many people, I'm speaking to many of you who come here and eat real food and then go out there and eat trash, and you keep mixing your diet. And that is why dark and light, deception and truth are fighting for supremacy in you. But it's your choice to mix your diet, and you can have truth and deception. And if you think that you can live in those two worlds and come out with a good outcome, deception is already winning. But one of the things is that people are not aware of how the devil works. It is something that I never cease to be amazed by, the endless capacity of people who say that they belong to God, or people who say that they have the wisdom of the Spirit because they're Christians and all this. I never cease to be amazed by the endless capacity of people to assist the devil to destroy them. So we are in times where the Lord is saying consolidate. What does consolidate mean? It means be like a wise crab and pull your limbs back. Because one of the things that God said in that prophecy prayer call about financial crash is that there was a crab that was fully extended, and then the crab suddenly pulled back and contracted, and that's how the market contracted and everything just crashed. In another image, I saw a crab or just some kind of crustacean fully extended, and then a blade just came down and hacked off all those legs. And you know, if a crab has 8 legs or whatever and they all get chopped off, that is instant death. There's no question about it. And so if people get caught in this musical chairs because they simply lack wisdom and they simply can't hear, and all their little prophecy muppets out there keep telling them buy this and buy that, then you deserve what you get. Really, you deserve what you get because you sought after it and you walked in it. And so just like Isaiah said, if you walk in the fire, you will just lay down in the agony of the embers, to paraphrase. And so God is saying the stock exchange and this financial trading and stuff like that will crash as this bathroom goes underwater. The next thing I saw was somebody gave me a sheet of paper, right? So I was a man in this vision. I was a man outside one of these awesome Wall Street, really tall glass fronted buildings. And I was about to take my lunch break. So I had walked out of this building and I was standing in the center of Manhattan in a fantastic suit. And that building that I worked in, I knew in my heart because I was inside this man. So either I was that man or I was inside the man, whichever one. And I knew that this building I just walked out of, we were working money at a feverish pace. So we were handling large amounts of cash in big transactions. And I knew in that young man's body that I was fantastic at that job. So in a very short period of time, I had made millions and millions and millions of dollars for whoever was employing me in that fancy building. And so I was good at this job. And one day I had come out and I was going to take my lunch and I was standing on the curb trying to get a cab. So I'm raising my hand, I'm trying to get a cab. And a man in like early or mid 40s, an older guy, definitely older than me, he ran out and he was like, hey kid, hey, hold up kid. So I turned around and I put my arm down and I turned to face this man who was my superior. He was one of my superiors in this job. And he said to me, hey kid, you done great. You done good. They want me to give you this. Use it and you'll be set for life. And this man handed me just a piece of paper about this big, you know, a paper that you can hold folded in your hand. He handed me a folded paper, and on it were a few trades from the stock exchange. Now, I, as Celestial, I could not read what was on the paper. So when I looked through this boy's eyes at the paper, all I saw were 4 or 5 blurry spots that this man had written, like when you write something in pencil and then you smudge it with your finger. So I couldn't see what was written because I know that God didn't want me to see those trades. But when the boy saw the trades, when that young man saw the trades, he looked up at the man in shock, in appreciation, in understanding, and serious gratitude. And this young man was amazed because that paper was showing him on that paper what to buy, how much of it to buy, how long to hold it for. And just as I, Celestial, was figuring it out, I heard the Lord say insider trading. That paper contained 4 or 5 crown jewel trades that were going to make that boy set for life, for 10 lifetimes. And the older guy slapped me on the shoulder and he was grinning and he said, yeah, you're welcome, kid. I'll tell him you sent your regards. And he turned and walked back into the building. So there are people who are in this game and they're moving your money around, but they're moving lifetime fortunes around for themselves. Why? Because they won the favor of the faceless class up there that I always talk about. Those people who are sitting at 60 and 70-story buildings, not only in this city, New York City, but all around the world. The majority of them live here. And I'm not talking about even the 1% that you know by face, the usual suspects, the so-called tech gods and the Microsofts. No, there are people above these people. I have said it and I'm going to say it again. I said there are people above these people who have nation money. That's right. Their fortunes are unknown. Their fortunes have never entered the pages of Forbes one day in their life. Their fortunes are like planets. That's how big they are. They affect nations. They are bigger than the GDP of nations. These people decide what banks are going to stay functional, what banks are going to crash, what banks are going to have to stay beholden and begging for their very existence. And in this way, these people have captured countries and only give the appearance of sovereign nations, i.e. nations that can make their own decisions. God even said that these people are faceless, meaning why? He said, nobody's ever seen these people, my child. Nobody's ever seen these faces, Celestial. Some of these people, they've not been captured by camera or anything like that for a very long time. And so the next vision I saw is I saw a sheet of paper being held before me. And when I looked at the paper, it was just a sheet of paper. Okay. So it's a sheet of paper and I'm looking at the paper and thinking, okay, this is paper. But then the Lord sharpened my vision and I began to see transactions happening on the paper. And the only way I can put it is this. So please listen. Imagine the sheet of paper. It's a normal A4 sheet of paper, but try to imagine it in blocks. So it's got maybe 5 blocks and then 5 blocks. Try to imagine a sheet of paper divided into 5 blocks. For 99% of this paper, there were little white ants crawling within each block, and the movement of those little white ants represented the movement of money, the movement of stocks, bonds, investments, currency, and everything that forms the global economy. So just imagine, here's the paper and here's block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, like that. And in each block, little white ants are moving around, and the movement of those ants is currency transactions, stocks, bonds, treasury bonds, sovereign debt, all that stuff. On 99% of this paper, these tiny ants were so few They were so sluggish. They were moving here and there, but their activity was sluggish and it wasn't much to write home about. But then God zoomed my attention down to the corner of the sheet to only one block. Right there in the tiniest corner of the bottom right of the sheet, the Lord zoomed this block out so much that I saw a world of activity. And when I say world, I'm talking about an entire universe of lightning fast black ants working at top speed. And this was the hidden section where the rich trade, they buy, they sell, and they make money. It was a hive of activity, alive with cash and with transactions zipping between the ants at lightning speed. And I was totally amazed. And then the paper zoomed back out again to normal resolution, and it looked exactly how it looked to me before. Just a plain white sheet of paper. You couldn't see the white ants. You couldn't see the black ants. But this time, I knew where to look. I knew where the money was happening. And so I put my hand at the bottom right, and I could feel something like Braille. You know, Braille is the language for the blind. It's raised bumps. I put my hand there, and where the rest of the paper was smooth because of those weak ants, there were Braille symbols in black, white, and gray. And I could feel this is where stuff happens. This is where there is life, there is movement, but not anywhere else. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, the stock exchange will crash. And in time, everything that is considered money will go away. And God said that after that comes the new world order and the new beast system that has its own money, its own stock exchange, and its own way of doing things. The rich will trade in both worlds, this world and that world that is coming, and they will be successful in both. That has always been their way, God was telling me. They succeed no matter the playing field. And a large reason for that is because they set the playing field. They set the rules. They change the rules as it favors them. So why on earth would they not succeed? But here is what most people, excuse me, please, do not understand. And most people seem to be having a tough time comprehending that there is a world after this one. It seems like no matter how frequently I sit here and I tell you, if you are still vested in the way things are, you're still here hoping for your little political pony to win the next race and stuff like that, you are already stuck in 1922, because these people that you are pulling for are actually looking ahead, like Daniel the prophet and like John the apostle, to the coming finishing of the kingdom. These people are not interested in America the way Americans are. And I think that is, well, that's the loss of the people who just don't get it. That the people you're saying, oh, he's going to fix this and he's going to make that great again. You have no idea that these people are looking ahead to the coming of a new kingdom that does not include many people being alive for a start. That does not include all this stuff that people are doing now and stockpiling now. It doesn't include a lot of things. What that kingdom is focusing on is termination of everybody that it finds not useful. I have already shared that one of the agendas is to get rid of as many old people as possible, as many unskilled people as possible, as many people as they find are not valuable resources. And this is something I saw that even the Russians will do. The Russians are not going to come here and take over what is left of America and then concern themselves with keeping a large population alive. They were looking for the strong. They were looking for the educated. They were looking for people who had technical skills that could be put to use in their own societies, Russia and China and the massive cities. I saw them building over there. They were looking for strong people. They needed labor. They needed people to labor in brick and mortar. And so they were basically looking for exactly what God calls them architects of destruction, exactly what the American home-based architects of destruction are looking for. They are looking for to build their own utopia, and that just doesn't include everyone. So this is why prayer is needed. But beyond prayer, I put it to you that this is why waking up is needed. This is why snapping out of the stupor is very important for men and women who come here. If you're looking for me to echo the bias of whatever it is you're sipping out there, you're plumb out of luck, because God is mixing a totally different form of cocktail here. It's a stiff drink. And those who love life and desire to see length of days, those are the people who are going to appreciate what the Lord has set on this table. And so now let's go to this dream that made me mad. I dreamt that I went to the kind of place that I don't go to. It's far above my pay grade. Fancy linen tablecloths, genuine silver, fine china, fine glassware for drinking in. And they made that little ding, ding, ding announcement that it was time for dinner. And I sat down and I was seated next to a young man who was a little younger than me. And we were sitting side by side. And of course, as we were waiting for the meal to be served, the different courses, we got into small talk and he asked me what I do. And I told him, and then I asked him what he did. And here is the condescending answer that he gave me. He said, well, I used to work, but I don't work anymore. I recently came into a lot of money. And I think that with a little effort and a little caring about your financial future, you could too. You could do better for yourself. And for some reason, I got really mad at this, But I restrained myself and I said, oh, and how's that? How could I do better for myself? And then he says to me, you have to know how to trade the stock market. You see, you can't just sit there in the general pool and hope that things are going to work out for you. You have to work hard. You have to make good choices. You have to pay attention to the different indexes. You have to know when to get in when it's time and then get out when you sense it's about to go downhill. It's a skill, you see. It's all about intuition and hard work. And then he sat back like he was talking to a very stupid baby that doesn't know how to breastfeed so that it gets fat and round like the other smart babies do. And then I had an outburst. Normally, I would overlook something like this. But I don't know how I had an idea of the things that I said to this young man, but I just basically poured out words on him. And as I was speaking, the proof of everything that I was saying appeared at that big dinner table in front of everyone. And this is what I said. I said, you arrogant dummy. Do you think this money that you came into was earned legitimately? You really think that it's hard work and intuition or whatever nonsense that your uncle told you that this is how you got all this money? So I sensed in my heart that this money this boy had, this young man had, was not even a death inheritance. Nobody had to die. The feeling I had is that this uncle was alive and well, that he was about 55 years old, and yet he had given this young man over $600,000 is the sum that God was showing me in the spirit as I was speaking. So a pretty young uncle, only 55, was able to drop $600K plus on his young nephew, and that catapulted that boy immediately out of his job. He quit his job and he began to dedicate all his time learning from his uncle how to trade what he thought was legitimate money that his uncle had given him. And so he was looking at me so shocked as I was speaking, as I was telling him, do you really think this is legitimate money that your uncle has given you? Almost $1 million that he's given you. You really think that this is clean money? And he didn't dare to answer me. And I yelled at him. I said, your uncle had coupons. Coupons. He traded on the market with coupons. And every trade that he made cost him only pennies on the dollar. And that is how your uncle made his fortune. He used coupons. And when I said coupons for the last time, out of the air, it was almost comical. There was a rain of something that looked like these very large train tickets. So each ticket was about yay big, and rectangular. And at the top, it had either a lengthwise black edge or a lengthwise red edge. And then written in big white letters, it said coupons. And each one was signed with the signature of the person who had used it. And all of us at the dinner table sat there and watched as a rain of coupons with this boy's uncle's signature was pouring on his head, in his lap, on his plate, and just piling up in front of him. A rain of the evidence of his uncle's guilt in front of everybody. And the Lord said, insider trading, cutting corners, using the back door. And so these coupons, let me show you how it works. Above the table in the air in front of all of us, we began to see something like a movie scene. And so we were looking in a man's very well appointed and expensive bedroom. So we were in the bedroom, and in the bed at the back, this man's wife was sleeping. It was about 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, and she had gone to bed with a rich lady's silky eye things. And she was sleeping, and we saw a man's desktop in front of all of us, and we saw his shopping cart of stocks. So he had put in quite a few stocks into his shopping cart, and then he began to enter coupon code after coupon code after coupon code, and we all watched as stocks that were worth about $1 million dropped to $50,000. He entered in all the coupons. He got those things at a price of peanuts on the dollar, and then he clicked purchase, and all those things became his. He didn't pay $1 million. He paid $50K. And so I continued speaking, and I said, your uncle is a thief and you have thief's money. So if he's the person that gives you information that you trade with, you're well on your way to becoming a thief yourself. And then when I finished speaking, all the coupons stopped raining out of the air, and I just stared straight ahead, waiting for my food to come as this boy was trying to gather up all this stuff. And I was feeling a little bad for him because he was so embarrassed, and I could feel in his heart he was confused and he was really sad because he really looked up to his uncle, and he really thought that it was his uncle's smarts that had won him all that wealth. But there was nothing I could do about that. And then the Lord said that the stock exchange will fall. He said it will collapse, and in financial language, people will lose their shirts. Now, I don't exactly know how the stock market works, so I cannot give you any further context than the things that I have said in this video that were shown to me by the Lord. I know the stock exchange exists. I know people are in it. It's just complicated, and any interest that I've had in it has never really gone that far. The market will crash. Volatility of the stock market will be exposed. People get severely discounted prices to do their trading. They get kickbacks in the market, and they share private tips about making money with each other. And also, as God has said, the economy is deliberately crashed from time to time to serve agendas that the American people, and in fact that the people around the world who always end up affected by these deliberate crashes, they have no idea about, partly because they just won't listen. To the geniuses of the world, everything is conspiracy until they end up broke. That's the only time people ever start investigating the truth, when it bites them. And so all of this is done to weaken the structure from within so that ordinary people can fail. There are three dreams on the Master's Voice that can back this up. The Black Horse Dream, the Leaders of Babylon, and the Iron Gods, and also the Unemployment Prophecy that speaks of 1933 levels of Great Depression, as well as the Life Prophecy Prayer Call. That's about 5 things. I will watch this video back and put them all in the description box. I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice. I am not speaking my opinion here, and I'm not running an entertainment center. The Lord God has sent me to prepare for him a people who will be ready to endure and even survive and thrive until he comes back. And so as you're listening to these prophecies, what you are doing is you are going back to the Lord to ascertain the personal plan of protection, provision, and progress for your life. Believe it or not, Christians, prophecy is not the end of all things. We are in the end times, and that means that these words must come. They must be heard, at least by those who want to hear, and they must be fulfilled. Nothing is going to stop the end times from coming. But in the Bible, we have the entire story of the Exodus, where God had his people and he maintained his people in what I can almost call a climate-controlled environment. So God was out there on his best form, busting up Egypt to pieces. And yet in Goshen, when there was 3 days of darkness, or however many days of darkness in Egypt, I still have that prophecy to put up, that the plagues of Egypt are coming back and that they will all be fulfilled on the earth again, including water to blood. God said we will be drinking energy drinks and bottled tea because the watered sources will all turn bloody. And then he said, at that time, that is when people will learn to respect him. And that is when people will learn that he is God alone and they must honor him and stop chitter-chattering so much. And so God kept his people in a climate-controlled environment in Goshen. He protected them, he fed them, but he also demanded obedience from them. When the plague of death was coming, Moses made it very clear to them, you are to anoint your doors with the blood of the lamb. However, if you're one of those people who say, but what about our animals, and my dog needs to go out and relieve himself, and all the things that people say when I share these prophecies, then obviously you don't need to be told that when the plague of death is active in the streets and you happen to be in the street, you forfeit the climate-controlled environment and you will fall among the slain who cannot listen. So in the end times, there is progress, there is provision, but you need to seek the Lord for individual direction for your household. The internet is not where you get spiritual answers for the times that we are going into. You have two knees. It is time that we begin to put them into use, trusting that God will help the humble and God will be found by all who seek him in the day that he is still near and taking applications. This is Celestial with a Master's Voice. Thank you for...
I eat lobster every night cause I'm getting paid. We just tell it how it is, that's why people hate. Trump the dawn and I'm here to make America great. Clean your room or get rich enough to hire maids. I eat lobster every night cause I'm getting paid. We just tell it how it is, that's why people hate. Trump the dawn and I'm here to make America great.
Hey Jordan, Gordon Peterson. I grew up with a guy named Gordon. Gordy, we used to call him Gordy. We would catch lobsters and his dad in Maine. We would go up to Maine in summer and his dad had a lobster boat. And then we would eat at the Red Lobster afterwards. And my Corvette, the red Corvette, I would call the Lobstermobile. Being Gordy and his dad in the Lobstermobile. Make sure you clean your room. Hunter's room's always clean.
Joe, that's plenty enough, Joe. All right, we understand. I think we get it, Joe. That's quite enough. Bloody gosh. All right, Trump, give us the look again.
Clean your room or get rich enough to hire maid.
This is a sad ending for anyone who claims that they're a Christian and claims they've got a handle on the end times to fall among the slain. What an indictment. And without further ado, let's go into it. So the second dream about Donald Trump, I cannot remember, but the first dream is that I dreamt that Donald Trump came to me and he told me to stop talking. So it wasn't a very long dream. It was just what you might call just a snippet of a dream. I dreamt that I was just standing. Let's just say I was just standing. I was standing and it was nighttime and I was standing under the street lights and there was a bit of light fog and a figure began to approach me out of the fog. So it was a man coming towards me, but you know how it is in these slow dissolve moments where a person is coming towards you in the fog, but until they literally emerge out of this fog, you have no idea who is approaching you. And this man came right up close to me, like those slow dissolve moments in the movies. And then he came out and I saw that it was Mr. Trump. He was wearing a dark suit. He was wearing this very long black trench coat that we're quite used to seeing him in the colder months. And it was very simple what he told me. He told me, shut your mouth or you will regret it. Shut your mouth before something bad happens to you. That's all he said. He wasn't even particularly emotional when he said it. He just delivered his statements in a very cool and a calm manner. Shut your mouth or you will regret it. Shut your mouth before something bad happens to you. And I looked at him and I didn't say anything. I didn't need to answer him. One of the things that God has told me is you don't need to answer people in your dreams unless it's necessary. And I also didn't answer him because at least in this one, I knew it was a dream. So he gave me this long, calm look, and then he turned around and he walked away. And out of this dream, I woke up briefly, and I will read to you from my tablet because this is not yet on the blog. I woke out of this short dream only briefly, and I said, Lord, what is it? Now, this is a phrase that I just ask God when I see things, snippets of things, sometimes a long dream that has many moving parts. Some I get, some I don't get. And God is always faithful right there to answer. And the Lord said that Donald Trump is a federal operative. Now, you have to understand this word operative, in its basic form, it just means one who works for someone else. But here in America, we understand that if you sit and you're pushing paper all day, or if you work at the DMV, or if you work at a daycare, or even if you work as the CEO of a bank, no one is going to call you an operative. We usually reserve that word for people who are highly enmeshed and embedded in politics, policy, and international matters of politics and international policy, as in dealing with Russia and dealing with China and that kind of thing. The people who move around in that world, especially those, please listen, especially those who walk around in secrecy, especially those whose work requires secrecy. These are the people that we call operatives. The Lord says that this man is working with the federal government to deceive the people of America. He is a federal operative. He works for the government. He is controlled opposition. He is a dummy alternative for the people to keep them occupied while the real preparations and arrangements are being made for the beast government to take effect.
It's your boy, Big Tucker.
It's your boy, Trump the Dud.
Hey, how did I get in the studio?
Everyone saying Russia, Russia, Russia. Fake news, no wonder no one trusts ya. The United Nations filled with suckers. The only journalist I trust is Tucker. Everyone saying Russia, Russia, Russia. Fake news, no wonder no one trusts ya. The United Nations filled with suckers. The only journalist I trust is Tucker.
They tried to stop me from interviewing Putin. The whole world lost their damn mind and they're proving. The land of the free, just not speech, it's confusing. Pull up on Big T, you know that I'm shooting. I'm just a journalist, getting to the truth. CNN and Fox are dead, no one cares about the news. Legacy media doesn't appeal to the youth. These politicians don't give a damn about me or you. George Stephanopoulos and Barbara Walters interviewed Putin and so did other reporters. But as soon as Tucker goes to Kremlin, quick, call the lawyers. Apparently, I disrupt the whole new world order, protecting Ukraine before our own southern border. Start another foreign war so they can money launder. They want me to apologize, but I'm not sorry.
Now, I will just stop at this moment I will stop because there's still more about him written down here that the Lord gave me before I started. But I will just stop here to go back to the prayer call recently where the Lord was very angry and the Lord made some very revealing statements. And these statements, I knew them as far back as 2016. So the Lord made some very revealing statements. And one of the statements he said is that President Trump is not going back to the White House. He said that President Trump had no business in the White House the first time. And then he said that the only reason that he let President Trump get near the White House is because the alternative would have been President Hillary Clinton was by far worse an outcome for America. That this woman does diabolical deeds against adults and children, and had America allowed someone with what God called a murdering temperament, a murderous intent, to sit in that seat of power, it would have been hell and havoc for the people of this nation. Now, this is something that I knew all the way back then, and the Lord has given me license to speak of what I knew all the way back then. When these things were going on, and you're just sitting and you're watching to see the outcome of what is going to happen, I remember straining as a horse strains against the bridle towards the Lord, saying, Father, have mercy on us in this country. Have mercy on us in this country. Whatever form of mercy you choose to have mercy on us in this country. And it was with much shock that I saw what the outcome would be. And the Lord did say that he had mercy. So now we skip ahead before. And again, I went to the Lord with this prayer in 2020. God, have mercy on us in this country. And this time the Lord rebuked me. And I'm not ashamed to talk about such things, because it is a non-humble person who will not be able to disclose when God has shut the door. I have warned on this channel that many of you want to be more merciful than God. So God will say, this arm is diseased. I will hack it off. And then here come the lymphocytes of the so-called church. God, can't we give this arm penicillin? Can't we work on it somehow? God, let's give it a second chance. I know that this arm has been harming men, women, and children in the nation. I know that this arm has been harming men, women, and children in the church. But oh God, aren't you a God of love, the reckless love God? Let's work on this arm. This habit infuriates God very much. So the reason I went to God with a second plea for mercy is not because I care about U.S. politics. I went because I know that the day American politics stops working, foreigners, I hope you're listening very well, in every country where you tune in, the day American politics stops working, we are going kit and caboodle into the beast system. See, that's what I care about, because God has called me to end times work. He hasn't called me to be interested in your MAGA or your Build Back Better or your filibusters and whatever else. God has called me to care about the fact that one day this earth will be empty of many things, but one of the things it will be missing the most is human beings. That's what I'm interested in. Because the beast system is a coming machine that will methodically exterminate human life. And other countries are going to watch as blood flows here until they're going to have to look aside. So that's what I care about. Every time I observe a hiccup taking place in the halls of power, I don't think, oh, my favorite pony is about to lose a race. What I think is, we are one step closer to extermination, mass extermination and death. Father, please have mercy. And in 2020, the Lord told me, do not be like them. Do not distress me by continuing to ask mercy for this people. I will show them no more mercy. I will have no more grace. God said, and the prophecy is there, it's called No More Grace on the Master's Voice blog. He said he would have no more grace. He said that America was going to get exactly what she deserves. And what is that? America, we are going to see a progressive slide from Mr. Biden to Ms. Harris to whatever else will come. And at the end of the road, there will be only one choice. So it's like having a multiple choice question, but all the questions, all the choices are going to go away, and we're going to be left with only one choice. And that will be the man who promised this nation change, did not deliver. He didn't tell us that he was planning to come and complete the change in a final time. And what changes will there be? So in 2016, the Lord revealed in the prayer call, not celestial, but the Lord revealed what he had told me in private, that yes, people have pleaded for mercy, and I showed them the mercy. But what America saw is they saw the coming of King Cyrus from the Bible. They saw the coming of 10,000 different Bible characters. And all I have to tell you is God says that he actually gave you Saul. He gave you a blunt instrument because he said that matched your hearts. The blunt instrument that came into the White House in 2016 matched the heart of America. Israel didn't want God as their king. They wanted a king of show and ceremony who would make strong words and a strong show of strength. And so they got Saul, a blunt instrument who was only interested in pleasing the people. In 2016, that is what the Lord said. They got someone who is exactly like them. And this is why the Lord has come now, years later, to say, you got your blunt instrument. And what did you do with it? What Israel always did. Mounted up a statue, an idol to worship. In the prophecy Ezekiel 13, let me work with my notes here. In the prophecy Ezekiel 13, the Lord said that he was so angry with America. And that's because America lifts up the name of Donald Trump until it smokes into the heavens like black smoke. God says that black smoke angered him and irritated him because it is like the burnings that people make for their idol. He said he was very angry with it, and he was going to harshly judge all the false prophets who were leading the people on into telling them that Trump is the savior they need. Remember, this is years back, and it's all documented. So to those of you who always flip your lid when you come here and you think, it's just actually a sign of how deeply embedded this lie is in you. Because whenever you poke a sacred cow, whenever you poke a person's idol, they'll always flip out. And that's how you can see, man, that demon is in there deep. And there's some people who have a civil approach to their idolatry. Well, no, we're not making an idol. We were just happy to have someone who didn't steal and didn't lie. How many court cases does your idol need to fight off? I'm going to speak everything that God has been laying on my heart today. God says that you in America cannot stop worshiping idols. And he said that America cannot resist a golden boy. And here into this prophecy comes America's golden son, now resting and waiting for his judgment, Mr. John F. Kennedy. The age of Camelot, another god that stood on the American landscape, until he lost his life, and how the nation crumbled and collapsed mentally and emotionally. Why? Because America, you are much older than me, and yet you don't seem to understand how it works with conspirators, co-conspirators, planning and plotting. You actually think that the words on the cover page are what is taking place in the book. That's why Netflix makes so much money off of us, because it takes Netflix to come and constantly make documentaries about the truth, and then people who are older than me go, oh, that's what happened. If Netflix doesn't come and expose the conspiracies for cash, some people in this nation could go to their grave thinking, what a tragedy that the shooter on the grassy knoll. This is a prophecy on the blog already. I speak nothing of myself. This is the Lord's revelations. It's called Redacted Information Revealed. And God named, I think, Lyndon Johnson and George Bush Sr. as the conspirators at the top of the list in why the golden age of Camelot came to an end. And what God says is that, America, you are constantly willing to overlook a little bit of sin on your idol just to keep the party going. So it doesn't matter how much information will come to rock the pedestal of the idol. You'll just be like, idol will prop you right up. It's just smear campaigns. Mr. Kennedy, a golden boy, a true statesman, but a man of unfaithfulness. But America will overlook that blue dress because she just loves a winning smile. Mr. Kennedy's brother killed someone And there exists footage on the internet today of them asking Americans at that time, are you still going to vote for Ted? And they're like, well, he's a good boy. And I don't think he meant it. This is the nation. And then when the Lord brings prophecy and says, you are complicit, then people come and they shake their tiny fists and they say, I've been watching you, but God will expose you and your lies. And I'm thinking, all right, he surely will expose lies from somewhere, but won't it be a shock where the lies will come from? The Lord says that this man is working for the government. Controlled opposition. Controlled opposition is where you're both one side, but then in order to get the criminal to talk, someone needs to be the good cop. So you're both working at the police department, but one of you is going to split off like a personality, and you're going to be the cop that comes in and says, man, you've been in here a long time. You know what? We're just trying to get to the bottom of this. Can I get you coffee, anything, cigarettes? That's the cop who comes in and gets you to rest and put your guard down because the other guy is behind the glass hoping that they don't have to come in and threaten you and get you to clam up and say you need your lawyer and Miranda and all that. So the good cop will try to split the votes, split the party, split everything. And people older than myself are sitting in this country unaware that the wheels of civil war are churning. Because as the Lord said in the prayer call, when your idol falls and he's under that special flag, he said an earthquake will hit the country. It will ripple. And I saw it and I said so in a long ago prophecy. That this man himself doesn't know that the game he's playing where he thinks he's in with the boys, that the boys actually are run by the beast. And one thing the beast system is faithful to do, the beast system takes no prisoners. The beast system is that scary Sky movie that will hire someone to do a dirty job. And then you go out and do the dirty job and you come back and you're like, I took care of it, boss. And then the beast system says, you did a great job. Pew. So we're sitting here and the Lord has sent me to minister to adults who can't take the medicine. And you know why you can't take the medicine? You can't take the medicine because of this fundamental rule. When you are deceived, there is no way to come out of deception except through humility. See, deception is a pit. You're at the bottom and you have no options. You don't have a ladder. You don't have a rope. There's no way to come out of deception. The only way that you can come out of deception is to humble yourself and admit that you are deceived. The instant you hit your knees and repent of man worship, party worship, MAGA worship, whatever you're worshiping, and keep denying that you worship it, because you think your reasons for following it are quite well thought out and you're being a reasonable American. The minute you hit your knees, you will find a bright light shining into that pit and a golden staircase will come and Jesus will say, come up out of the pit of your deception. When I brought these prophecies 2 years ago, there were the same reactions that's going to happen now. Some people admitted that they were deceived. They admitted that Joshua Johnson and all the flyaway birdies who were swearing, they swore on various swearing posts that God had told them for sure he was coming back. Cyrus would not abandon the nation at the time the nation needed him. People repented. But there was another group of prophecy, another group of responses calling me very interesting names. And I've noticed how over the years, all of those comments have disappeared. Because reality was kicking in and people just went back and just delete. Like Carrie Ann Giddens. She'll give a false prophecy and then when it doesn't happen, she'll just delete the video. People go back and they wipe their tracks, but they don't understand that they don't wipe their hearts. And God will hold them accountable for it. He will hold you as a participant with your idol. Have you ever heard of the tar baby? This is going way left, but I know that it's the Lord leading me. The tar baby is something that you raise up in your pumpkin patch. So you're growing pumpkins and you don't want your pumpkins to be robbed. And so you build up this thing that looks like a scarecrow, but it's covered from top to bottom with sticky tar. And then whoever comes to steal and sees the tar baby standing there will be like, who are you? This is my pumpkin patch. And you slap it and you slap it and you kick it and you kick it. And in the morning, the farmer comes to find you stuck hands and feet to an idol. And then he takes care of thieves who enter the pumpkin patch. Just a moment as I fix the lighting, please. So what the Lord is saying is that it is extremely dangerous to have the sins of your idol accounted to you. The Lord says that this man is a dummy alternative for the people. A dummy alternative means that it's literally the thing you hang in front of a baby to keep the baby happy and kicking when you're running a little late and it's time to give the little one dinner and, excuse me, please. It's time to give the baby dinner, but you're running a little late and you know in a little while he's going to fuss. So you hang that thing over the crib because then it keeps him occupied and he's kicking his little legs and he's happy, and then it gives you time to catch up and do what you were supposed to do. The beast system is active in America. The Lord says the beast system is a go. All the military men know what that means. They all know that they're given assignments and they go over the assignments, and even if they drop them on that beach, an assignment has to be a go in the military before you can do it. So they need that, yes. And then they can do what they're supposed to do. So God is saying that the beast government is in effect. The beast government is a go. But this dummy alternative is being hung in front of the people to keep them occupied, because the real preparations and arrangements are being made for this thing to come out. And I know the reason that many people don't have the proper, I wouldn't want to call it fear, because we're supposed to have only fear of the Lord. But the reason that most people don't have a proper appreciation of the real danger that this one world final system poses is because they don't study the book of Revelation. People treat the book of Revelation almost as like an afterthought a lot of the times. They don't want to read it because the first thing that a thinking person picks up when they touch that book is, man, there's a lot of people dying in here. That is one thing that you cannot miss when you read Revelation, that you just see soul after soul after soul exiting this world. And it's not even one soul. It's mass souls. The Lord said in a recent prayer call that I shared, my private prayer calls that I am sharing, he said that the horses will ride, white, red, black, and pale. He said, each of them will take their due. And then he said, they must, it is prophesied. So if you just go and look and think, well, what's their due? It says that the pale horse who rides with death as the rider and Hades as his accompaniment, Hades being hell, says they take a third of all living, a third of the people on this earth go to their ending simply by, it says, the beasts of the earth to kill with death. That word death has been changed. It's actually pestilence, which means that this Rona was just an opening shot across the bow. Things are coming that are going to eat people up bodily. Things are coming. Some disease made of fever is coming, where I saw people as crisp as freshly baked pastry. When they died, the fever had cooked them until their skin was as flaky as pastry. They died looking 171 years old because of how the heat cooked them from within. God says that death will get their view. And where's America? Well, we need to get a red wave and a blue wave. That's the level many people are at.
We got to solve for you.
Every day 1984 with the World Economic Forum. Don't forget to mention social credits implementing the score. If you're kicked out, then you poor. Card get declined at the store. They got us divided and fighting, distracting us from the war. Poison our food in our water, confusing our sons and our daughters. You'll own nothing and be happy, convincing you less is more. Controlling the population, creating an impatient nation. Have you complacent in place in a trusting government agency? What George Orwell had written today is no longer fiction. They implemented a system that put us all in a prison. Watch weed and bugs in a pod, not taking care of your body. No religion and worshiping government and not God.
Big brother, we don't love you no more. Big brother, we can't trust you no more. They keep on pulling and pushing until they all end up wishing, and now we can't take no more. Big brother, every day 1984.
Government tracking our phones, everything we eat GMO. They got us all driving and electric control everywhere that you go. I ain't riding with Biden and I ain't trusting Trudeau. But in fact, all these politicians, the web faced around the globe. Taxing our carbon emissions, they don't want you guarding your children. They don't want you having no knowledge, they want us all in the prison. Gender confusing the youth, their agenda is proof. I don't trust these fact checkers every time they censor the truth. How we overpopulated if our birth rate is freaking. Go ahead, ignore your instincts. Morals right down the sink. All the freedoms that you thought you had, they're gone in a blink. Sir, you're under arrest. You've had too much to think.
Big brother, we don't love you no more. Big brother, we can't trust you no more. They keep on pulling and pushing until they all end up wishing, and now we can't take no more. Big brother, every day.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, stay rooted, stay ready.